Hi there, and welcome to beginner workout number 4 for trimester 1. And what I have in front of me is some of the equipment you may need for today's workout. So I always try to make it for my beginner and intermediate videos an option where if you have standard weights, fantastic, you can do the workout. But if you don't and you just need to use household items, you can do the workout as well. So options that you're going to need today, you're going to need a stable chair, so that you definitely need. You may want to have a slightly smaller stool handy to you. If you don't have that, that's okay. We can still do the movement off the ground, no problem. And then as well, what we're going to need is a pair of somewhere between 8 and 15 pound dumbbells. So you need 2 8s or 2 10s or 2 12s or 2 50s. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be progressing that deadlift, and we're going to be doing a loaded deadlift today. So if you don't have standard weights, and again, here I'm being creative, this is all I have access to at home. I don't have dumbbells, but I'm using plates, two 5 pound, so that's 10 pounds a side. But if you don't have that, what you can do is maybe get full laundry detergent containers. Just try to find something that's somewhere between bare minimum 5 pounds a side if you can. But even so, something like this will work fine. And as well, the other thing you're going to need is an object that weighs about 20 pounds. So something practical, you could fill a baby carrier with a couple of household groceries and put it on a scale and try to make it about 20 pounds. Anywhere 18 to 20 pounds would be great, or you can just use a standard dumbbell that's about 20 pounds. So gather all that equipment together and let's get started on our warm-up. One other piece of equipment you will need access to is an open wall. So you'll need a wall that you can work against. For our warm-up, as usual, I want you to imagine a little line on the ground, and I want you to step forward and back over top of that line. We're going to do about 10 with the right foot lead, 10 with the left foot lead. And of course, as usual, integrated into our warm-up, there's going to be some dynamic stretching. There's going to be some core and postural activation, as well as some glute ham activation, warming up those glute and hams. Switch left leg lead, please. That imaginary step forward and backward over top of that line. So hopefully you've been enjoying the workouts. Again, I must reiterate, they are designed to be progressive, so you should be doing workout 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. I recommend, especially if you are a beginner, repeating the workouts several times until you feel comfortable with each of the movements, until you feel confident that you're doing each movement appropriately. Okay, and let's review as well in our warm-up some basic squats. So feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. I want you to imagine that you're sitting in a chair. We're going to do 10 repetitions. 2. So today we don't have the chair. You're just trying to do that movement without the assistance of the chair. So our legs work just a little bit harder. Try to have your knees staying behind your toes. Bum pushes back. Core nice and tight. Posture nice and straight from the shoulder down to the hip. That should be about 1 more. Should be about 10. Very good. And what I would like you to do is to try and balance on one leg. I want you to try and reach down to the ground, squeeze, come back up. Maybe hands out to the side to facilitate the balance here. So we're playing around with that single leg deadlift pattern here, slowly improving through each workout, hinging forward. So what I want you to do is when you balance on one leg, load through the heel, slight knee bend, but not too much. You're hinging forward until you feel a very slight stretch in your support leg, and then you squeeze the glute and hamstring to come up. Hinge forward, squeeze glute and hammies to come up. Let's go 1 more on each side. Squeeze glute and hammies to come up. 1 more time. Squeeze glute and hammies to come up. Okay, let's go for 10 squats again. This time I'll do it from the front, just so you can watch what I'm doing here. You're aiming for even weight distribution between the right and left legs. As you squat down, you can push those knees out a little bit. Good, nice and slow, good control. All functioning as a bit of our warm-up, but using some functional movement here as well. 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. And I want you to go into a staggered position. I want you to get your back knee on the ground so that you can feel a little bit of a pull through that back hip flexor. You've seen this in almost every workout now. Just going to do a little bit of an add-on today. 2, 3. Let's go 2 more. 4 and 5. This time, what I want you to do is I want you to plant your right hand, plant through that right hand, and I want you to try to spin and do a little bit of a twist here. Twisting open as far as you feel comfortable. Just go to where the body feels it wants to. And let's go 2 more. And last one. And once again, chest close to the thigh. Shift your hips back, toe comes up. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands come on the inside of the leg. Swing the leg back and go to the other side. Find a good hip flexor stretch in the back leg. Probably recommend for stability back toe turned under, but go whatever feels comfortable for you. 5 repetitions. Nice and tall. So don't aim for a deep arch, but aim to reach tall. Squeeze your bum cheeks if you want to get more of a stretch in that back hip flexor. And plant the left hand this time. Nice and tight. Pushing off that left hand. Twisting as far as you feel comfortable. 2 more. 5 per side. And last one. Good. Chest stays close to the thigh. Bring that back knee back just a little bit. Reach back, pushing back with the hips. Toe comes up. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And let's take the hands around. Tuck the toes under. Wiggle the fingertips forward. Nice big stretch underneath the arms. Stretch over to one side. Let the hips shift if they want to. Stretch over to the other side. 3, 2, 1. Come up into a kneeling position. 3 big arm circles backwards. Opening up through the chest and the shoulders. This time on the last one, if you can, grab behind your back. Open up to the chest. Option number 1 is to just push the elbows back. If you feel you've got the mobility, you can lift up 3 times. 1, 2. Last one. 3. Let's repeat another set of squats. Okay, from the front again this time, 10 repetitions. And the next movement we're going to go into is our dynamic glute stretch. So in previous workouts, I've shown you how to do that sitting on a chair if you feel more comfortable, or you can do the dynamic stretch option where you're more balanced. So I'll really quickly show you the seated option. Make sure if you do choose that one, do both right and left legs. But I'm going to demo today in the actual video the more dynamic stretch. So grab your chair, and the easier option is to actually take a seat, cross one leg over top, and hinge forward, just hinging forward gently, about 1 to 2 seconds down, 1 to 2 seconds up. Do about 10 on each leg if you choose to do that, or the more advanced option, use the chair for stability or wall. We're going to do a little glute stretch, hold, come back up, little run, so you end up on the other side. So the little run is going to be anywhere between 3 to 5 steps, just so that you end up on the other side. Push back, get a nice stretch, and push back, nice stretch, and back, nice stretch. Good. Let's go 2 more on each side, so 4 more total. Watch the positioning of your bottom leg. Make sure it's tracking in line with the knee. Hips are square to the back. And release. Okay, let's move that chair out of the way. Time to do our activation. So we've got some core and some postural activation, as well as some glute and ham activation. So you should be nicely warm by now. So we're going to do a little bit of a variation on the core activation. I'm going to kind of angle this way. Hopefully this will give you a good idea of what I'm doing. So you're going to lie on your back, belly button pulled in tight, imaginary grape underneath your back, so you're not crushing the grape, you just apply a little bit of pressure. Fire that Kegel, so if you had to go pee really bad, no washroom around, lifting through those pelvic floor muscles, that's the most important part. If you are just doing this video for your first time, go back and review video 1, because workout 1, I give a much better, more thorough explanation. So core, Kegel is fired. This time what I want you to do with one leg, I want you to let it flare open, drop open, and then come back up. So these are called bent knee fallouts. What I want you to do as you do that bent knee fallout Your static leg is exactly that. It's static. So you're making sure that it's not moving. It's completely stable. The other leg, you move through the range of motion that your body can comfortably manage. Double check both hips stay on the ground. Both hip bones stay square facing up towards the ceiling. Okay, now double check. Is your Kegel still engaged? Belly button still engaged. I'm going to do 10 per leg. Let's go 3 more. 2 more. Kegel still engaged. Last one. Relax everything. So totally relax the Kegel. Again, I've said in other videos, it's very important that you know how to both fire that Kegel, but also relax that Kegel. You don't want it fired 24/7. Okay, so switching to the other leg. So let's fire the Kegel. Belly button in, little low back pressure into that imaginary grate, and 10 little bent knee fallouts. Again, double checking, your hips stay nice and square even though one leg is moving. Your stable leg is exactly that, it's purely stable. If you want to add some focused breathing, you can inhale as the leg drops, exhale to bring the leg back up. Don't worry about the breathing as long as you are breathing, just no holding your breath. Still thinking about that Kegel if you can. 2 more here, shoulders are staying relaxed. And last one. Okay, flip over onto all fours. So let's get the shoulders right over top of the hands, hips right over top of the knees, nice flat back. So if you do have access to a mirror, double check you're in that position. Draw the belly button in, fire the core. I want you to lift right arm up, hold 1, 2, and come back down. Shift to the left, hold 1, 2, and back down. So we're just going to do 10 of those total, 5 aside. Notice how your obliques or your side abdominal muscles have to work a little bit harder to stabilize through that position. Keep thinking the Kegel. If you feel any pinching through your shoulder, feel free to bring the arm slightly to the side instead of straight ahead. Whatever feels comfortable. If you can manage straight ahead, please do that. Get a little bit of shoulder work here as well. Slow and steady wins the race here. Nice and slow. Good. Okay, so again, the idea here is everything should be completely stable except the moving limb. I'm going to do the same thing. Totally relax the belly, relax the Kegel. Now reset, belly draws in, fire the Kegel. Now I want you to do left leg, hold 1, 2, and back down. And then right leg, hold 1, 2. What your goal is when you lift the limb, try to be as stable as possible everywhere else in the body. That stability, that lack of movement, is what really shows core control. Keep thinking about that Kegel. And then holding. When we hold the movement, it's a little bit tougher as well. Going for 10 repetitions. We're aiming to get the back leg approximately in line with the body. Slightly lower if you need to, if you feel any stretch through the low back. 1 more on each leg here. Double check, core and Kegel. Tends to fade throughout a set of a movement. Good. Okay, and let's just do a quick little set of the posture pushes. So this is what we're doing in order to remind ourselves where to set the shoulder blades in a push-up position. So I let my shoulder blades collapse, and then I push up. Again, if these movements look foreign to you, please go back and do workouts 1, 2, 3, 4, because I've introduced each of these movements before. And by now, the idea is that you're a little bit more familiar. You can just follow along without needing quite as much cueing. So I'm pushing out of the heels of the hands. I feel my shoulder blades spread, but my elbows are not involved at all. So later on when we do a movement called the mountain climber, I'm going to refer back to this and get you to set into a good shoulder position from a prone position. Okay, bring your hands a little bit closer to your knees. Squeeze through the glutes. Come up. We're just going to do 5 repetitions of this deadlift preparation. Again, this movement showed up in all my other videos, beginner videos. Belly button in nice and tight. Squeeze or pelvic thrust to come back up. And next one last time. Good. Okay, so this is where you can have an option. So in last workout, I introduced with your back leg on a chair, which I'm going to scale back just a little bit, just to make sure that it wasn't uncomfortable on anyone's back. Your option here, a little slightly more advanced, would be to do this movement with your back toe up on a small bench. You're going to do that hip hinge, and what we're aiming for is we're just pretending to pick something up off the ground with a nice flat back. But as I come back up, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the impetus from the glute and hamstring. If you're finding that you're not quite connecting with this movement, then what you can do is do the exact same thing, but just take it right down from the ground. And again, the idea is this back leg is just there for balance only as much as you need it. If you could, I'd ask you to go single leg completely. But what you should feel, once we do about 12 repetitions on each side, glute and hamstring really working here. Trying to just hinge from the hip, core nice and tight. So again, we're developing good movement patterns here so that we're ideally taking stress off that low back when you do your lifting patterns. Last one, imaginary lift. Switch over to the other side. Again, your choice, slightly more advanced, is to have the back toe up on an object. But if you don't want to, just take it down to the ground if you're finding balance at all of the challenge. Coming back up. So you don't want to be reaching so low to the ground that the upper back rounds. You want to keep that upper back nice and flat. Just hinging from the hip. There's my hip hinge right there. Where my fingers are, that's where my pivot point is. Keep drawing the belly button in, firing the core to support the back. This movement pattern is going to become important when we do our loaded deadlift, which we will do in a few minutes. And last one here. Good. Okay. So your options are now to go back and repeat at the very least the core activations, and if you want, the postural and the glute ham activation. Let's move into our first functional series. So just to give our back a little bit of a rest before we move right into the loaded deadlift, but please don't forget that feeling of the glutes and hamstrings working. I want you to go up against a wall, and I want you to go right underneath here. I want you to bend your knees until you feel you can comfortably slide down to the point where your low back is flush up against the wall. From here, I want you to set your shoulders down and back. So what I mean by that, my shoulders are kind of doing this along my back. So from the back, I've almost done a backwards shoulder roll, and then I try to anchor my shoulders down and back. I maintain that position, and I'm going to do 10 I's, Y's, and T's, what these are called. So I want thumbs up, set the shoulders down and back, core tight, low back pressed into the wall, and you're going to try to reach back and touch your thumbs right into the wall. Now, for some people, that range will be maybe quite easy, so you get rid of your thumbs and you try to touch the whole back part of the portion of the hand right to the wall. But make sure you keep your shoulders set down and back as you do it. Make sure you keep your core pulled in tight, your low back pressed to the ground. If you're arching your low back off the wall, that's a bit of a cheat. Let's go 3 more. And last one. Good. Now try to press into the wall for about 2 seconds when we do this next movement. Now we take it to a Y. So a little bit wider, hold 1, 2, and release back down. Hold, press 1, 2. When you do that press, if you're actively pressing into the wall, you should feel your upper back muscles are really working. 1, 2, and release. Hold, 1, 2. Shoulders down and back. You don't want tension creeping up to your neck. 2 more. 1, 2. And relax. And again, 1, 2, and relax. Tease. So once again, thumbs up, palms up, and now we're going into the wall. So again, if you find just touching your thumbs to the wall too easy, get rid of the thumb and you're trying to push the entire back of the fist into the wall. Shoulders down and back, belly button in tight. Should be feeling your upper mid back. We're working quite hard here. Good. 10 reps of everything adds up. Feeling the back of the shoulders working now here. 3 more. 2. Last one. And 3. Okay, so now is when you want to grab your pair of either laundry detergent containers. You can grab those, or in my case, I'm going to grab my plates. So I've got 10 pounds on either side here, and we're going to do a double leg, double loaded deadlift. So slight knee bend. We're going to hip hinge with the weights just traveling in front of the shins until I feel a bit of a stretch in my hamstrings. Then I'm going to squeeze my glutes and hamstrings to come back up, open up through the shoulders so I come up. So every single workout we've been progressing towards this movement, doing all sorts of variations. Last time we did it unloaded. Today we're adding a little bit of a load. So if you feel you can do this, make your glutes and hamstrings work hardest, you're probably doing it right. Double check yourself in the mirror. Make sure you've got a nice flat upper back. If you're feeling any strain in the low back, please get rid of the weights and practice this movement pattern unloaded until you feel you can do it with a nice flat back and you can recruit more of the backs of the legs, so bottom hamstring, preferentially over the low back. Doing a total of 12 reps. I think we've got about 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, so now we're going to take our sumo squat that we did last workout. We did that loaded last workout. Today we're going to do it unloaded, but you're going to do it up against a wall. So the closer you get to the wall, the more challenging it is. I'm going to recommend that you start about a foot away from the wall. We're going to do that same movement, toes flared out. The purpose of the wall is to double check, and let's go hands behind the head. The purpose of the wall is to double check that you're not letting your knees collapse inward. So if you performed 1 repetition and it was okay without you feeling like you're falling backwards, get a little bit closer to the wall. Ideally, you can do this with your toes right up against the wall. But if you find, like I just did, if I go right up against the wall, my range of motion suffers a little bit too much, then you can come away from the wall. So maybe stay about an inch away from the wall, somewhere between an inch and the foot. Squatting down as low as you can. Imagine that great big beach ball in between your legs. You're squeezing it to come back up. So your choice, 12 to 20 repetitions. It's unloaded. Last time we did loaded. So if you find that you can do a full 20, go for it. Squeeze glutes and hammies. Sorry, not squeeze glutes and hammies. Squeeze your adductors to come up. Push your knees out as you go down. So you're trying to keep your knee tracking in line with that second toe. And good. Come away from the wall. And now what I want you to do is repeat that sequence. Eyes, Ys, and Ts, loaded deadlift, sumo squats against the wall for a total of 2 to 3 sets. And we'll move on to our next functional movement. Okay, for this next series, I forgot, there's one other item that you could benefit from. So you can either get a rope tie, which is just a long string that is non-elasticated, or if you have access to some kind of elasticated band, this is just something that you use for your car or for your luggage. So if you have something like this, this would work perfectly. And what we're going to be doing is a chest and shoulder range of motion exercise. And it's good just to have something with a little bit of a give. If you don't have anything with a bit of a give, what we're going to be doing is just limiting the range of motion into a comfortable range so you're not going to be coming all the way around. So grab that, and in addition, you want to grab your heavy load. So today, I will demonstrate the movement that we're going to be doing with my baby carrier. So you could use your single 20-pound dumbbell as well. I'll demo a rep actually with each. So what we're going to be doing is a total of 6 repetitions or 6 lengths of walking about 10 to 12 steps with the weight held on one side. If you have a long, long room that you have access to that you can use, great. You don't have to turn around like I do. But I'm assuming most people have about the limitation of space that I do. So, farmer's carry. What you're going to do is you're going to pick up your object. You're going to carry it on one side. You choose if you feel most comfortable with your hand facing forward or hand facing back. But the key is that when you are holding the object, you want to find a position where core can be in tight, shoulders up and back. And as you move, it really looks like your weight is distributed evenly on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk forward about 10 to 12 steps, and I'm going to turn around, and I'm going to move slowly and methodically. The idea here is I want to practice loading heavy for a long period of time on one side, or a decent period of time, getting used to how the body feels holding a weight loaded primarily on one side. And I'm really trying to draw that belly button in, keep my shoulders fired back. If you feel any stress in your low back, please stop and take a little bit of a break. You don't have to do all 6 reps if it feels too heavy. So we call this a farmer's carry, but in this case it's actually a baby's carry. Okay, excellent. So now switch it to the other side. I'm going to show you on my left hand what it looks like if I was just doing a dumbbell carry. So dumbbell carry is actually a little bit easier because it's easy to tuck into my body, but the baby carrier is probably more realistic. Either way, I'm trying to keep my body nice and tall, core in tight, thinking about my posture. It's important to build up the stamina and the tolerance to be able to do this. And it's important to do it when you can really think about what your posture is doing. We've just freshly repeated or done our activation, so hopefully our postural muscles, our core muscles are nicely primed to support us through this movement. Again, if you're finding that this is too challenging to start with, if you're finding the 6 lengths too challenging, you can minimize it and build up. Okay, so that's carrying it just at the side. Now what I want you to do is do what I would consider more a cradle carrier. So I'll go right back to loading on the right side. So cradle carrier on this side, I'm going to hook my arm in, up nice and tall. I can support here however I want, or just kind of hold this to the side, but my right arm is still doing most of the movement. So this, if you're carrying a baby carriage, is or a baby seat, is another method, which you'll probably use sometime in carrying. So again, 6 lengths, core nice and tight. What you'll find is this does put different stress through the obliques, the QLs, quadratus lumborum, so that's a fancy word to say your side abdominal muscles and your side low back muscles. And again, we want to build up the stamina in those in a controlled setting where we can think about our posture and our core. Okay, so there's 6 lengths there. Now your option there is to switch to the opposite side if you're using something like a baby carrier. If you're using a dumbbell, again, pay attention to how I'm picking up and putting down the weights, using proper form, using my legs, nice flat back. If I'm carrying a dumbbell, what I'll do is I'll cradle it almost like I would a baby, use my right hand just for stability so I know it's not going to fall off and crush my toe. So again, up nice and tall. Slow and control, core nice and tight. So you should find by the end of the 6 legs, your muscles are fatigued. You shouldn't feel like there's any pain anywhere. Fatigue, yes, you might feel one side working more than the other. You should, because you've got the weight loaded on one side. But you should feel comfortable. And when you set down that weight, you should feel like everything recovers relatively quickly and goes back to normal. I can't remember if this is 6. I think this is down and back will be 6. Keep those shoulders pulled back, core in tight. Okay, so there is your farmer carrier. For farmer carry, baby carry combo. You can do it with either option there. And then we're going to get into our elevated mountain climber. So how high you elevate the mountain climber, it makes a difference in its difficulty. So if I am to do it on an object about this high, it's going to be a little bit easier than if I was to do it on an object slightly lower. So choose your poison, whatever works for you. I want you to position yourself in a good push-up position, meaning I've got my chest right over top of my hands. Let's do one posture press to make sure our shoulders are set, so let the shoulders collapse with locked elbows, and then push out of the heels of your hands. but not so much that the shoulders are rounded. One more time, collapse and push. I'm in that good shoulder set position. Belly button in tight. I want you to drive one toe, hold 1, 2, and relax down. Drive, hold 1, 2, and relax down. Always try to make sure that you're getting your foot back to the same spot. So this is just a way to challenge the upper body as well as the core. A little bit more tricky. Good. So do somewhere between 12 to 20 reps. Keep drawing that belly button in nice and tight. And again, 1, 2, and relax. 1, 2. Let's do a total of 4 more. Core and Kegel in. Shoulders are getting fatigued. Take a break if you need to. If you find that you're losing your form. And slowly stand up. Little shoulder roll backwards. Okay. I'm going to give our upper body a little bit of a recovery after those 2 movements. Pretty challenging between the farmer / baby carry and the mountain climber. So you're grabbing your elasticated object or your rope tie. If you're doing this with a rope tie, you're just doing it within this range of motion, whatever's comfortable for you. So you're not coming all the way down to the hips. If you have something with a little bit of give, what you can try to do, if your joints and your muscles feel comfortable, should not be painful to do this, just it should feel like you're going through a bit of a stretch. So if you've got the flexibility, the range, and an elasticated object, you can go all the way down and all the way up. If it feels too easy, grip your hands a little bit closer. So you do want to feel a stretch, but it should feel comfortable. Again, please, please, please do not do it all the way full range if you do not have an elasticated object, because it will probably be too late by the time you realize you've pushed it too far. 2 more reps. Good. Okay, so that should loosen the chest up a little bit. And then we also want to do just a quick little bit of a neck stretch after doing all that carry. So up nice and tall, shoulders down and back. Let's drop left ear to left shoulder. And in this case, we feel a nice stretch down the right side. Imagine that this hand is super, super heavy. And then once you're in that position, just do a tiny little rock of the neck, like you're doing a little nod forward and back. Very small range. 3, 2, 1. Little shoulder roll back. Neck up nice and tall. Right ear to right shoulder. Lengthen through this finger so you're getting as much length through here as possible. And then just tiny little nod up and down as you hold that position. Excellent. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you, if you have time, to return back, and I want you to do the farmer / baby carry. So that's 6 lengths per side on each arm in each position. So hand holding down low, and then hand holding more in the baby carry. You've got the 12 to 20 mountain climbers on either object. So if you do choose next time to try a slightly shallower object, you can do it down in this position. Another option you can do is to do that extra toe drive. So knee, then toe as an option, a little bit tougher. And then you've got your chest, shoulder release, and your neck stretch. Do that a total of 2 to 3 times, and then we'll get into our complete or final stretches. Thank you. If you only have time to do 1 set of every exercise, great, no problem. I did it. You do 1 set of everything, you're still going to get a great workout. I would like you to go into a straddle stretch for your final stretches. So open your legs up as far as feels comfortable. In that sumo squat, we were working the adductors, and this will be a nice stretch for that. From here, your choice. If you feel a stretch, that's where you're going to stay. If you can, or you feel comfortable, you can bring your body forward just a little bit further forward. You can drop your head, whatever feels comfortable. For a lot of you, that may be as deep as you can go, but if relaxing is kicking in, you might be able to be going a little bit further. And hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another variation of the adductor, and that will also hit the low back. Even though we are trying to make the glute and hamstring complex work over the low back is still obviously doing some work in there. So what I want you to do is a wide diamond stretch. What I mean by that, instead of bringing those feet in really close, slide those feet out a little bit further, grasp gently onto the ankles. And what I want you to do is to think about rounding through the body and bringing the forehead towards the ankles. As I'm doing that, I'm gently using my elbows to fan out my knees. And I find this is a nice stretch through the low back. As well, it gets a little bit into the glutes, the piriformis, ever so slightly. As long as you're not really yarding on your ankles, if you want to increase that stretch, if you gently pull through your toes and now kind of pull the body forward, that can also accentuate the stretch through the low back. It's going to be a subtle stretch. Don't overdo it. As soon as you feel just a gentle stretch, just relax and hold it there. 3, 2, 1, and release. And I would like you to go into a figure 4 stretch. So that's one leg extended and reach to the extended leg. You may just be able to reach maybe about shin level. If you can reach all the way to your toes, great. And hold. Here I'm really working on relaxing this leg. You're going to feel it back of the hamstring. Some of you will feel it in the QL on the right side of the back. And switch over to the other side. Figure 4 stretch. Again, where you place this inside foot really doesn't matter. Wherever feels comfortable, at slightly above or slightly below knee level. Drop the head, reach down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cross the left leg over the right. Sit up nice and tall. Hug the knee towards the opposite shoulder. Getting a stretch in the glute muscle here. And hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And switch. Sitting up tall. Hug knee to the opposite side. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more stretches to go. We've got hip flexor stretch. So find a good kneeling position. Shoelaces turn down in this case, and I want you to make sure this knee is behind that front toe, actively pushing the shoelace into the ground. Hold 5, 4, nice stretch through this hip flexor. 3, 2, 1, and release. And over to the other side. Switching the feet. Shoelaces pushing in again. Not quite holding these stretches as long as I would like you to. If you can, stop the video and hold each for a good long minute would be fantastic. I'm going to eventually put together a good prenatal stretching video that's more comprehensive. 3, 2, 1, and slowly get back up. Last bit. We're doing our single arm stretch, option A, up here or down low. Getting a nice chest stretch up against the wall. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch over to the other side. Great job. And hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down low, option. And thank you so much.